Well, my question to both of you is what are your expectations and forecasts for the future developments of the relationship between the United States and China, in particular, of course, keeping in mind the new administration coming in and the fact that there are some common cooperative activities, say, to resolve the North Korean problem, but at the same time there seems to be a notion of future confrontation between the United States and China as China becomes more and more of a world power. So how do you see the developments?
I'll just say a brief word, and that is that of all the problems that Obama is being left with in the wake of the departing Bush administration, China policy is not one of them. In fact, the Bush administration, by and large, I think, can count the relationship with China as one of their foreign policy successes, leaving it in a relatively stable position, increasingly interrelated, increasingly interdependent, and I think increasingly cognizant of the common ground that we share, not only on financial and trade questions, but even more broadly on a range of foreign policy and security issues.
How do you see?
Well, I agree, and I think that is probably one of the more interesting phenomenon, which is that even though in the 1990s there seemed to be a lot of confrontation about China policy, and there were a lot of very low expectations, I do think the Bush administration has pursued a pretty pragmatic, sensible line, and what I think that speaks to is the fact that the interests that the two countries have in cooperating are so enormous and so overwhelming that, posturing aside, I think both political parties in the United States are basically committed to a cooperative and forward-looking relationship.
And what's your forecast for the North Korea problem?
Well, I mean, in terms of U.S.-China relations, it's obviously going to be one of the top 5 areas of joint endeavor and intensive consultation and work, I suspect. But I don't hold out a lot of optimism that this is going to be fully resolved to the U.S. or China's satisfaction within the next year or two. I think we already can see that North Korea is going to continue to try and play the parties off of one another, to try to continue to extract more and more concessions, to be opaque and not being fully revealing of its programs and intentions. Indeed, with a new administration coming in, it could be that North Korea is going to play this game even more to see what sort of weaknesses, vulnerabilities exactly that might be drawn. Are you optimistic about this?
Well, I'm optimistic in a very strange way, which is that I think the situation it's going to be very frustrating for a long time, and I'm not sure that there's a easy near-term resolution. But on the other hand, it seems to me to be a fundamentally manageable problem. It seems like the North Koreans have articulated a set of interests, and there are things that they want, and there are things that we want from them. And it seems to me that all of the challenge has been about building and sustaining coalitions on both sides and then getting the sequencing right. And so, you make a little bit of progress and then it falls apart. But that process of managing it, I guess I'm fundamentally optimistic about. And in particular, what makes me very hopeful is the fact that the United States and China have been such close and successful partners on this particular issue. And that's, I think, a very good thing. That said, I mean, it's a challenging issue, and in particular whether the U.S. can manage its relationships with Japan and South Korea, as well as the Bush administration has done with China, I guess that remains to be seen.
One potential spoiler in all of this, though, is what might happen if the leader in North Korea does fall more gravely ill, if there is a leadership crisis there. That could spill over into the resolution of this problem in some really odd ways.
Did you see he named the third son today as the successor?
I didn't see that, so
Yeah.
there we are. Well, that actually may ironically lend some degree of stability, since we didn't know who the successor was going to be. So that decision could not have been taken and announced without a lot of internal consultation and consensus building, I suspect.
Although it could be bad press reporting, who knows?
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Let's hope for the best for these developments. Okay.